Hello everyone, X-Walk Hill Bethelite here. And another reason why, a major reason why people stay in the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses, even though they're the only religion that has teachings we know are false. We know that the generation of 1914 that would not pass away was false. They think Hellfire doctrine is false, right? There's a big difference there between a church where you think Jesus being divine is false versus we know Beth Serene being a place where, Jehovah's Witnesses were going to have people resurrected and living in a mansion. We know that was false. We know the end of the world coming in 1975 was false. Jehovah's Witnesses have teachings we know are false, and they complain about teachings in churches that they think are false. And one of the main reasons I think a lot of them stay in that cult, even though they've got teachings we all know are false, there's no way it came from God, is the concept that there's so much love here, that there isn't love in other churches. Other churches don't care about people, but Jehovah's Witnesses love everybody. It's the concept that they have this global love. Now, the problem with this concept that I'll just stay here inside Watchtower because of this just love that's everywhere. Jehovah's Witnesses, that religion has got to be the least love-driven religion on the planet. Jehovah's Witnesses are known for knocking on doors. That's done oftentimes because of compulsion. That's done because you need at the end of the month something to write down on your field service report. If you don't have something to write down on your field service report and don't turn one in, you're going to have elders, people from that church calling you, where's your field service time? What's going on? You're going to have to explain yourself, right? As a Jehovah's Witness, you're lying if you say that the preaching that they do, as far as what they used to do, I should say, door to door, was done just because they just love everybody. The truth of the matter is you don't have the option of not going door to door. You can't just not turn in one of those slips that show how much time you spent knocking on doors and how much magazines you gave out. You can't just not fill one out and everything just be okay. You'd have people breathing down your neck. You'd have people having you in a back room somewhere. You know what I mean? Like you don't have the option, right? So you can't say that that's driven by love. Jehovah's Witnesses don't have a single charity. They ain't thought about nobody homeless. They ain't thought about nobody that's poor. They haven't thought about no kids that have gone through abuse. They haven't thought about battered women. They haven't done anything for anybody as far as charities are concerned. They are dead last when it comes to, oh, you got so much love. Let's see how much love your pocketbook shows. They are dead last there. Jehovah's Witnesses show love as long as all they got to do is show up at a meeting for a little while and then go home. Show up at a meeting, smile at everybody, and go home. Long as that's all they got to do, oh yeah, I guess you can call that love, showing up at meetings. Because if Jehovah's Witnesses had love, let's say, okay, we aren't going to do anything for any kids. We're not going to have no schools. We're not going to set up any charities. We are not going to do a single thing for anybody except go knocking on doors and handing out magazines, which if we don't do, we're going to have people breathing down our necks asking us why we're not doing it, right? That's done out of compulsion. And if it wasn't done out of compulsion, then there would be no need for people to be breathing down your neck at the end of every month asking for watchtowers and whatnot. But okay, let's say Jehovah's Witnesses don't do a single thing for nobody as far as charity, as far as helping anybody, but they're saying that they're the most loving people in the world, right? At the very least, you think Jehovah's Witnesses would do things, have a fund set up for Jehovah's Witnesses. They ain't putting away money for nobody else. So you think that they would, at the very least, this just loving organization would have money set aside for at least Jehovah's Witnesses, and then you could fill out a form and request such funds. Let's say if there was a disaster and your house was destroyed, or let's say because of COVID you lost your job and you're unemployed. You would think that Jehovah's Witnesses would at least have something set aside for those situations. They don't even have anything for their own people. Not only do they not do nothing for nobody in the community, as far as actually helping, they don't do anything for their own people. This is unheard of. This is unheard of. Churches have got funds for people that need help. Churches have got charities for people. Churches got all kinds of things that they've set up to help. Even the Mormons have something set up for if one of the members of their church fall upon hard times where they can get foodstuffs and whatnot from the church. Jehovah's Witnesses don't do nothing for even Jehovah's Witnesses. You have got people living in utter stupidity, right? They call their religion the truth. This is the only religion we can flat out for sure prove what they've taught is false. It's the opposite of truth, right? They're the worst ones, right? So, you know what I mean? Unless the end of the world happened in 1975, you know what I mean? They're the worst ones. They wouldn't have had to come up with the whole concept of, new light for every time they get something wrong if they were the truth. They call themselves the opposite of what they are. Loving. Y'all don't do nothing for nobody. Except y'all gotta go knocking on doors. Otherwise somebody's gonna come after you. Elders calling you about field service time. The commenting and whatnot at meetings. How many meetings have you been to? And if you don't comment, somebody, well, I didn't hear your comment today. There's social pressure to comment. There ain't too much anything that you do that's just pure out of love, right? You have to give talks and do things like that for guys. You got to do that to get appointed, right? And Watchtower's telling women, don't marry a guy unless he's appointed. That's a way of putting pressure on guys to try to get a title within Jehovah's Witnesses. Otherwise, they're telling women not to marry him. Virtually everything they do is out of pressure. Not virtually, pretty much everything. And the knife that pretty much slits Watchtower's throat as far as this, oh, we're just so loving, is Bethel. Bethel. A Jehovah's Witness will say, well, hey, we had a convention and we had people from different places and nobody fought, right? Nobody had a major incident. Well, idiot? That's because they were just sitting at a meeting and then they went home. They didn't have to behave but for a few hours, right? Bethel, where people live together, you got roommates all out fighting. You got people, domestic issues at Bethel, where you can hear the husband and wife yelling and hollering and screaming from down the hall. When it comes to living together, like people have to do at Bethel, all this love goes out the window. Roommates don't get along and they don't give a damn about each other. You got one roommate that's got to be at work because he works in the kitchen at super early in the morning. He's cutting on all the lights, waking everybody else up in the room because some of them got 3 people in the room. Some people got to sleep on the floor. This is loving? Y'all don't have a single... You can't say, well, we're spending all our money helping the community. Well, we're spending all our money in funds to help Jehovah's Witnesses in poorer countries or something like that. No, you're not doing none of that. So why is it again that you had Bethelites 3 to a room sleeping on the floor and whatnot? Y'all ain't even got money for the people that work for Watchtower. Like, this is the most unloving group of people there is on earth. Then the shunning, right? They're your buddy one day, you got your friends one day, then the very next day, you're not speaking to each other, right? You got people who are in the same family that haven't spoken to each other. Like, my stepdad is an elder, and I ain't talked to him in multiple decades, right? So loving, you would at least check to make sure the person is alive, right? Y'all are in the same family. At least you're checking to make sure your relatives are alive, right? Not Jehovah's Witnesses. That religion means if your relative isn't following your religion, you can just toss them to the side and you don't have any more family obligations. There are elderly people whose family don't take care of them, look out for them at all because they don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. That's loving. This is the most unloving group of people on earth. I've heard countless situations where somebody is sick, they need help, they got this problem, that problem, but because they don't go they don't attend that church anymore, their own relatives won't even help them out. Isn't that pressure or forcing somebody to go to that church? If you don't come to our church, well, we'll just flat out turn our backs on you and shun you, and you'll just be old and your own relatives won't even help you out anymore. Come on now. So going out in service there's pressure to do that. Field service report, you got to fill that out at the end of the month. Going to the Kingdom Hall, just going to the meetings, pressure, right? If you stop going, your own family will most likely shun you, or some of them will, and your friends. Bethel, right? There's pressure to put on people to go to Bethel, and then they go there, and where's the love, right? People don't get along at Bethel, right? You got all these people not getting along at Bethel, and how much do Bethelites make again? Just a little allowance? You mean Watchtower can't even afford to give a Bethelite minimum wage? You know what I mean? They can't even afford to give a Bethelite, you know what I mean, what McDonald's pays its employees? I mean, where's all this love at? Okay, so let's say Watchtower just can't afford to pay people. Well, love for a Jehovah's Witness is this poor Bethelite that don't have nothing. We'll just have them over for dinner. We'll take them on a trip to the park. This is love beyond what we see everywhere else? No. Open the check checkbook. There should be a fund for Bethelites then. They ain't even got a fund for Bethelites. Open the checkbook if you got so much love. The whole thing about Watchtower is you ain't got to do nothing. You don't have to buy your family nothing for Christmas. You don't have to prepare no meal or do nothing for Thanksgiving. You don't have to do nothing for nobody's birthday, right? The whole thing about Jehovah's Witnesses is, oh, well, we don't want people going to college, so we don't have to save up for our kids to send them off to college. The whole thing about Jehovah's Witnesses is you ain't got to do nothing. Pass out some magazines. That's it. That's the most unloving group of people there is. So if you're staying inside that cult because of the teachings, stop it. Talking about the Holy Spirit is electricity. Talking about Jesus is Michael the Archangel. They're the exact same person. Talking about the generation of 1914 wouldn't pass away before the end of the world came, and it did. Like, just stop it. If you're staying in there because you're talking about, oh, all is so loving, oh my goodness, stop it. How many divorces, you know what I mean? You can't even keep families together inside that religion. My family got divorced. Then after that, you got relatives not speaking to anybody, like my stepdad not speaking to his own blood daughter, right? It don't even bother me that he don't talk to me because it's a stepdad, step-parent, we're not blood. His blood daughter, he don't, from my understanding, don't talk to her just because she don't go to his religion. That's love. That's trying to force somebody to go to your church. He don't talk to her kids. Oh, it's her kids' fault too? And he's an elder. This is your example of love, right? And he done been through I don't know how many marriages. They're so loving they can't not divorce 5 times, right? This is the most opposite of what is advertised religion on earth, right? I mean, you got kids that's been molested and they just let it go on. I mean, where was the love then, right? Where was the love then? If there was love in that organization, they would have made sure police were called. If the parents didn't, the elders would have. It went through the parents and the elders on countless occasions that nobody called the cops, nobody pursued it, right? Not because of love. Love would have been like, okay, we want to protect the kids inside the Jehovah's Witness religion. No, it wasn't love. It was, oh my goodness, I don't want people outside this religion to hear anything bad about it. We don't want to call the cops and everybody else because then negative things get outside our church. You want to keep all this stuff inside. We want to sweep it under the rug. Anybody does anything that they're not, we just won't talk to them. We'll pretend we don't have problems because we just shun anybody that has any kind of issues, right? We just say, well, they're not a Jehovah's Witness because we just shunned them. They're not like, this is the most ridiculous thing. Leave this cult. You can find real love anywhere else. Ask questions. You think they're so loving. You ask questions about the teachings, why the teachings are so wrong all the time, and why they keep talking about the end of the world is around the corner and it's not, hadn't been. Ask questions and we'll see how loving they are. They will toss you to the side so quick. They will shun you, disfellowship you so quick. That is the most unloving religion there is. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. X Wall Kill Bethelite signing out.